Hey everybody, it's time for another good word from God's Word. I am excited for today. We are looking at Second Kings chapter 4 this Saturday. We're working through the Bible chapter by chapter. I can't believe we're almost done with the first year. And we have started another book, Second Kings chapter 4. So if you haven't been following along with us, we are telling the story of Elisha, not Elijah, but Elisha. His Elisha was Elijah's protege, his mentee, his successor. And one of the things that I found interesting when we saw the end of Elijah a couple of days ago is that Elisha asked for a double blessing. And what we see in Second Kings chapter 4 is an outworking of several of that promise that Elisha had asked. He asked for a double portion of the blessing that Elijah did. And Elisha goes and literally does, if you count every miracle he does twice the amount of miracles that Elijah did. So in Second Kings chapter 4, what we see with these miracles is we actually see two separate not two different miracles that are similar in that they both involve women and they involve women who are in great distress, who are in great need. So in the first situation we find in Second Kings chapter 4, verse 1, a man, the wife, she was a widow. Her husband had died. She had two kids. And in that culture, a woman was not allowed to work. And her two sons were too young to work. So she was literally destitute. There was no like government to come in and help her. She was just on her own. Her family, the husband's family is supposed to take care of her, but for whatever reason, they aren't there. And she is destitute. Her family is going to starve. They're going to starve and ultimately die. And so she comes to Elisha and asks Elisha for help. And then Elisha says, go and fill up a jar. Go but don't just fill up a jar. Go and get all the jars you can get. Collect as many jars as possible. And once you get all of those jars, then go into a room, shut the door behind you, you and your sons, and then begin to fill up those jars. And so this woman did this. She went and got a whole bunch of jars and filled them up with oil. And even though she only had just a little bit of oil, that's all she told Elisha she had, it kept pouring and pouring and pouring until she had so much oil, she had enough for her and her sons to live off of. That is an incredible miracle of one that just keeps going and going and going. And we see this, Jesus does this because God is a God of abundance, and he can make things double. He can make things triple. He can go up infinite. I tell this to the kids a lot of times when we're talking about God's miracles, is that one plus God is infinity. And we totally see this in this first miracle. Then in the second miracle, Elisha befriends another family in Shunem, and there's a woman who sets up a house for him, and he is so thankful for this. He asks, what can I do for you? And he thinks that she's going to ask him for to talk to a king or talk to the general army so that she can become of Israel, maybe become a citizen. But she says no, she doesn't want any of those things. But what does she does need is she needs a son, because it was really shameful in those times, one, to be barren, first of all, or to just have girls. And we don't know what exactly she has. We just know that she doesn't have a son. And so Elisha says, hey, a year from now, you will have a son. And then she's like, oh, please don't get my hopes up. We've been praying this for years and years and years, and this just hasn't happened. And he says, this is a promise from the Lord. And a year later, lo and behold, they have a son, which is amazing. Well, the son grows up. It's a few years. He all of a sudden, unexpectedly, he says his head hurts, and then he dies. And the woman comes to Elisha, throwing herself at his feet again in distress. This is a different woman than the first one, but again, she is just as distressed, or even more so distressed, because her son had just died. And then some really weird things Elisha does to make the miracle happen. We don't know what's going on here. We don't know why he did these things, but he did. And you can read in the chapter to find out exactly what that is. And then the boy is saved. The boy is brought back to life, which is another incredible miracle. But what I want to point to in both of these stories, chapter 4 goes on with a couple more miracles that are pretty impressive. But what I want to point out in both of these stories is how both of these women spoke with what they actually needed. You see, sometimes in our life, what we try to do is we try to express things that, like, oh, I want this or I need this. Our culture and our world tells us, like, you need to go with what your heart says. Be true to yourself and go after what makes you feel good. But these women actually knew what they wanted, and they knew what they needed deep down inside. And then God was able to do a miracle through Elisha and actually answer them in an abundant and in an incredible and miraculous way, a way only God possibly could. And so the question I have to ask for you is, what do you want, really? We can say that we want this or we want that. It would be nice to have a new house or a new car, or to have a new job and have new money and all this stuff and be successful. We can say that we want those things, but what do you want really? Go in and look down deep in your side yourself. Why do you say you want those things? Is it because you want to be viewed as successful? Is it because you feel like you need those things to be fulfilled? What do you really want, and what do you want really? And then once you find out what those things are, ask God for them, because God says, look, he says, for those who believe him, ask according to his will, and it will be given to you. Now, I can't say that this is a magic formula that you're going to ask God for something and he's just going to bless you and it's just going to be yours forever, and you're going to get exactly what he wants in abundance. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that you need to understand, once you understand what you really want, and pray to God, and God, please help me with this. God, please do this. God, please, I need a miracle. Hear me, and cry out to God and pray for him. And then maybe God will answer it, because he says God gives us good gifts because we are his children. And I can tell you a prayer in my own life when I've asked God, God, give me the desires of my heart. And I may not even know what those are, but you know who does? God does. And I can say that when God answers prayer, it's miraculous, it's incredible, and you feel so incredibly loved and cared for because God knows you. So he knows you and he loves you and he wants to have a relationship with you, and he wants you to go deeper with him, and we just spend time with him. Everything will be all right. We will have that peace that transcends all understanding. So that's today's good word from God's word. I hope you're doing well today. Pastor Scott's going to be back this Sunday as we continue on our Compassion in Action. We are working the What If series, and we are working with this Compassion in Action initiative. We're trying to raise $250,000 to get a warehouse to serve our community. So if you want to be part of that, you can go to www.churchofhope.com/giving. I'll put that link down in the comments, and you can look up Compassion and give to that. Make sure to check us out tomorrow. It's going to be a great service and a great word from the Lord as we ask the question, what if? Just like these women did in this story. They asked, what if? And God did incredible things. Hope you're doing well. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.